we're working on a vase of flowers painting on a black background. So the first thing you should have done for this painting to prepare for it, as stated in the instructions, is to paint the entire canvas black. So I'm starting out with a black canvas. So what we're going to do is transfer this template from this painting onto this black canvas, but rather than using carbon paper or using something that would be a darker color, we're going to just use something lighter. So you can use a piece of chalk. I'm using pastel pencil. I don't think the colored pencil would work. You want something that's more of a chalk type consistency. So this is just kind of like a peach color, and I'm going to flip this over, and just like we would normally rub the back of this with pencil or pastel to transfer a template, we are just going to do the same thing to the back of this with this light color pastel. Now, sometimes I just kind of go over the lines that I see on here rather than doing the whole piece of paper. What's cool about this is that you can easily just kind of take a piece of tissue, very damp, lightly dampened paper towel, and you can get rid of some of the lines that are there. And then if you miss something after this, once your paint is dry, you can go back over it with a damp paper towel or very damp, very lightly dampened sponge, and you can get rid of any of the lines. So now I've got this, the whole back of it taken care of, and I'm going to now tape this down. I want it to be tight so that I can get each piece. I mean each line, each piece. Each line is what I mean. And now I'm just going to go over it with a pen. Pressing down just like you would normally. If this was just carbon, or if we had used just an untreated canvas, or a canvas without a background being painted on it. You can use the same technique if you were to paint the background on something. So if you can't see the pencil line, or you can't see the line that's being made with that carbon paper, then you can go ahead and use pastels or some sort of chalk would work out good too. So just bringing this down to get the vase, and I've got it kind of positioned a little bit over towards the right. And now I'm going to just draw one line for the stem of these leaves, and then we'll go over it with our green. Just want to make sure I get all of these. I mean, I'm putting the circle in the middle, but realistically, I'm probably going to paint over that little circle, little center of each flower, and then add the yellow centers when I'm done. So here is the entire template transferred. Let's see if it worked. It did. Okay, cool. All right, so now if you notice, I'm glad this happened actually, is I did not have any pastel behind there, so I'm just gonna go over this because it did not go through. And you can go back in and you can touch up whatever you need to touch up to kind of give yourself a guide. You can also kind of, if you wanted to draw this freehand on here, you can do that also. But as long as you can see everything that's there. So we've got all of that taken care of. So for the paint that we're using today, I'm going to be using Folk Art Medium Gray for the flower pot. And then for the flowers, I'm going to be using Arteza Pink, Rose Pink, and Folk Art Violet Pansy. Now, this Folk Art Violet Pansy can be very translucent. So I want to mix it with a tiny bit of white when we're working with that to get it to be a little bit more opaque. And then I have Apple Barrel Kelly Green for the leaves. And then I have Folk Art Yellow Lemon for the yellow flowers and for the centers of my flowers. And again, this can be also a little bit translucent too, so I want to also make sure that I mix that with a little bit of white. All right, so the only thing I'm missing here is white. Okay, so let's get started with the, let me see if this palette fits here. Does it fit here? Not quite. Move it over a little bit. Okay, there we go. I'm going to get started with the flower pot first. So, and you can see that I have a line here that I drew, but I don't have that line there. So we're going to decide at the end whether or not we want to keep that. So I'm going to start out with with just adding this medium gray color just to my canvas. Now, sometimes when you're painting on a black background, you need to allow for a second coat. So this looks like it might actually need a second coat. The other thing is that if you want to just give it one coat and have this, you can see the brush strokes, then those brush strokes make them so that they're creating some sort of a pattern or a design for you. And then it'll look like you've done it on purpose rather than having to have brush strokes that just did not look like they matched. I'm going to give this a second coat. And I have that line that's across there, right there, but I'm not really concerned about that line because that was just so that I knew where that other piece kind of ended. I'm going to get a smaller brush so I can go around my flowers. And I'm going to put this aside for a minute so that we can let it dry as far as the gray is concerned. This actually is kind of dry at the bottom. So I'll give that another coverage of paint. Make sure the paint is spread out. See, this part already dried too. Again here. So this took 2 coats on top of this black background. Not bad. Give it a little bit of, just want to make sure it's spread out evenly. And when this paint dries, it dries so much darker than you can see it, than it looks right now. This particular color. Okay, so there is my vase. Now, let's start with rose pink for our flowers. I'm going to put a little bit of rose pink down. It always comes out way more than I want it to. And I'm going to add a little bit of white to my palette so that I have it there, and I know that I'm just using Craft Smart White. And I am going to start out with my rose pink. I'm going to make this flower, and this flower. So it's more of a, it's more asymmetrical or evenly placed. This may need second coat also because of the dark background. Just kind of filling in each petal in a way. It's not really an evenly shaped flower. And then any of the leaves that go through it, you can just kind of add those when you're done, rather than having them in the template. Want to just make sure that it's got some good coverage. Now, if you can tell, there's a spot right there that I did not go on. So at the end, I'll just, once this is all completely dry, I will just go back and wipe that off. So here is my last flower. This one's pretty good coverage. This first one that I did, I don't mind how that looks. But, and this one, not so bad if I just kind of spread around what's there. I don't want my paint to be lumpy, which feels like it's happening today. Okay, so there's my coverage of my flower. I'm taking this other brush here and I'm just going to kind of even out my strokes of paint. Now I'm going to work up with my purple flowers, and again, we want to kind of, I don't really want to lighten it as much as I hate when that happens, as I want to just make sure that we have, it's not so translucent. So I'm just going to take a tiny bit of white and add it to it. Another brush full. So it is a little bit lighter, but it's not really that light. You know what I'm noticing is that there's a couple of flowers missing, aren't there? Maybe I added them later. We'll just do that. And we'll just do this. And there's one here. Just to keep everyone on their toes. Did you notice that those are missing? All right, this first one is our first purple flower. I think that there comes a point when you're painting something that you kind of look at it and say, man, this looks terrible. But then, isn't it something like just when things get bad is when the miracle is supposed to happen? Here's another one here. What happened to this template? I'm going to go over that with the leaf for that one. But this flower right here, I kind of want to be yellow behind there, so I'm not going to go back there. I was actually thinking today that I should do a painting where it's just all mistakes. The whole thing. How do you fix all those crazy things? How do you fix weird mistakes that happen. I have a feeling that this is that painting. How do you fix all of any type of error? So let's just run with it. Let's just keep making mistakes. All right, so we've got, there we go, that purple right there. And again, I'm going right to this other purple. You know? Right to it. Because I'm gonna add some leaves in there. And then the other ones that are left will be yellow. Those are the two. But I'm going to add this purple flower here. Okay. So I've got some yellow right here, and I'm going to put it in with my white. Have a good dollop of it, actually. So it's going to be much lighter. It's this lemon, the yellow lemon. Put a little bit more, actually. And this is going to make sure that it's not so translucent. It'll make it much more opaque. So here's our yellow flower here. And then that line that goes across, kind of like a ribbon, that's just white. So just bringing this yellow into this spot right here. Even though it really doesn't look like a flower, it's kind of behind it, right? So it's behind the other flowers. And I'm thinking that my little spots inside each flower should actually be more of an orangey color rather than, like an orange yellow rather than a bright yellow. So let's see if this is still wet. It is. A little bit of orange here. A little bit of orange, a little bit of yellow. So it's an orangey color rather than more, it's more orange than it is yellow. And I'm going to add my center here, here. This one's going to be a little bit smaller. And then this last flower here. So now I'm going to take a little bit of white, and I'm just going to see where the vase kind of like tucks in or kind of squeezes together, like the waist. It's like it's the waist. I'm just going to go dashes. Just put some dashes of some white. And then add dashes on top of it, kind of like alternating where the spaces are, and then again at the bottom of that, and it'll make it look like it's just kind of like going through the vase. Now the leaves are just going to be this Kelly green color. I like this green. It's not that bad. It's not offensive. Some kind of, we talk about greens being a little, you know, can't find the right green. This one's not bad. And I am just following the lines from the template that I traced. And this one I'm putting inside there. Inside, like in between the flowers. Kind of like barely touching the canvas with the brush to get that that look. Put another leaf here. And then I'm going to, let's add another one here. Even though it wasn't on there. And then we can add another one coming through. I'm not really sure if I like how those leaves are just kind of coming around there like that. But we can just kind of place them where you want to have them placed. So I'm changing it up a little bit. And then again here. So it's just kind of like hanging down. I have 2 on this side, 3 on that side. I like more of a symmetrical design to it. So now if I want to add a little bit of an accent to those leaves, we can do that. I'm taking that charcoal gray, adding it to my green that's here to make it a little bit darker. Put a little bit of black in this. If you add black to green, it always kind of gives it a darker color. It's a good color to add to it. And I'm just going to add a little bit of a, you know, just the vein of the leaf. Kind of a light little wisp. Now, as far as the bottom that's there, this bottom table, I think I am going to put a table now that we have it all figured out here. And I am going to take just a darker gray. So let's mix some gray with some black. We don't want to make it, I want to make it between the vase and the background. So let's make sure we can get that color. I don't know if this is going to work. What do you think? Let's see. This is a good painting to experiment. This might be the exact same color, right? That would be crazy. Let's make it a little bit lighter. Can make it a light gray. Oh, this will work. It looks like it's white because of what it's near, but when in fact, it's actually a light gray. So it's going to be interesting to see what everybody does with this painting. Because, boy, I'll tell you, talk about what you think about, you bring about. I really was thinking about, we need to do a painting where we have a lot of things we have to fix, right? A lot of mistakes. What do you do? How do you make the mistakes make them look like they're intentional? Need a bigger brush for this. And I'll just do the edge. So what do you do when you get to that point, when there's mistakes? And there's just like, looks like there's no turning back. Do you say, that's okay, I'm going to leave it, I'm going to run with it, start over? I continue. I continue on so that my mistakes, not that they look intentional, but so that they become part of it. Does that make sense? Part of the design. Again, another problem here. See, that's going to dry. Totally different color. And I've got some white on my black area. A little bit of blue. I don't know where the blue came from. That's weird. And then see that leaf up there? Kind of, I have another little leaf up top there. I'll put a little leaf up there. And that completes this vase painting, vase of flowers painting. So you'll be able to see the step out sheet and the list of the colors that we used today. And also a template comes with this painting. Great job today.